So I'm here at Potter Mills Park. It is a whopping 16 degrees outside. And I'm out here walking the trails. I can't really see what I'm walking on. So as you see here, it's all snow covered. We got some snow last night, not a ton, but enough to cover the ground and make it aesthetically pleasing, I suppose. But today, what I wanted to talk about actually is pros and cons of living in and around the Rochester area. And you know, there's a lot of each. There's a lot of pros, there's a lot of cons. And you know, the things that matter to you, you'll have to make that decision. I know the things that are important to me. I'm much more, honestly, I am much more of the weather type. I want good weather. And that's gonna lead me into the first con. We'll start with the cons here in this video. The first con about living in the Rochester area, and the Finger Lakes for that matter, for the purposes of this channel, is the weather. So, I mean, as you can see here, a whole bunch of snow. It's cold, it's 16 degrees. But what you might not notice is on a day-to-day basis, there is almost no sun. The sun is right there. Not sure if you can see it, but that's my point, is you can't ever really see the sun. The Rochester area is one of the least sunny areas in the United States. I think there's about 90 days total. I'd have to pull up the statistics, but something like 90 days total of sunlight, unobstructed sunlight in this area, whereas places like Denver, some places in the Midwest and out west have roughly 300 days of unobstructed sunlight, which when you think about that, that's pretty significant. I mean, you know, if people say it's corny or it's, you know, like quit being a baby type thing, but it plays an impact on your mental health when it's gloomy and gray outside all the time. And, you know, that's even summertime here too. So what I will say though is that the snow is definitely beautiful. I mean, you can't look at a lot of this and say that it's not beautiful. That being said, you know, it does ultimately hinder the things that you do. So, you know, my wife and I just had a baby and we can't really get outside because it's sub-freezing. And, you know, obviously you can't really bring a newborn baby out into this type of weather. So, you know, my wife's at home and she kind of feels like she's stuck inside all the time. You can bundle kids up, of course, but a newborn, 15 degrees is a little bit cold for them. So, you know, if you're an outdoorsy type of person, just, I mean, be expecting that. Like, you gotta bundle up and be expecting that it's gonna be freaking cold. You know, that's just part of it. So I'd say that's the number one con of living in the Rochester area, kind of with a mix of a pro in there, just that it does add to a little bit of beauty. You know, when you got snow-capped hills and stuff, and you got trails that are covered in fresh snow and powder, there is a little bit of beauty in there. But with the gray skies all the time, you definitely have that seasonal depression and takes a toll on your vitamin D levels. And typically people stay inside all the time. That being said, you do see areas like this where it's colder and people stay inside. Typically RSV and flu season hits a little bit harder in these areas just because people are cooped up all the time and they're not getting outside, they're not exercising, they're not walking around, they're not getting sunlight and what have you. So just one of those things. The first pro to living in the Rochester area is the cost of living. you know, while groceries and everything, it is what it is. Cost of living is, you know, we're like 2% below the national average, but your housing prices are much more affordable in this area. Median home price is somewhere around $300,000 for the Rochester area, whereas the median home price in the United States is somewhere around $450,000, something like that, $425,000. And so when you're just looking at affordability and ability to buy a home, much easier to do here. Now, one thing that I will say, and this is gonna be con number 2, just rolling right into it, I guess, is taxes. I'll see if I can throw up some tax rates for you if I can find them. But taxes in the Rochester area, really in New York State as a whole, are just astounding. Like, they're like, not in a good way. They're wild in how expensive things are. People move here and maybe they're not expecting taxes to be as high as they are. And they're like, dang, maybe we should consider somewhere else. And, you know, maybe that's true. If you're open to picking anywhere in the world to move to, maybe you choose somewhere with lesser taxes. But if you're relocating because of work, and Rochester is an area that's on your short list, you need to be considering the cost of taxes, because it can hinder how much home you can afford. You know, we're talking upwards of $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000. Obviously, it's dependent on the price of the home. And I'm a little out of breath because maybe you can't tell, but this is an incline and the snow makes it slick. So I feel like with every step up, I'm taking another step back. So, kind of getting my cardio in right now. That's all right, I'm doing 75 hard. This can be my outdoor workout. So let's get it done. But taxes are just a natural thing about living in Rochester. And it sucks, but it does impact affordability pretty significantly. So with every town being different, you know, what's unique about our area is that we have taxes that are different based on the township and the schools that you go to. So it's different taxes with county, different taxes with town, and different taxes with schools. So it's possible that you live in Henrietta, but you attend Pittsford schools because of the area that you're in, and you pay Henrietta town taxes, Pittsford school taxes, and Monroe County taxes. And that would be different and probably more expensive than if you lived in Henrietta, went to Rush Henrietta schools, and paid the Monroe County taxes. So, you know, it's just one of those things. It's a kind of a case-by-case basis where if you're moving to the area, you need to definitely consider the taxes and the affordability of which, because it can hinder, you know, which house you buy and potentially where. I just had someone call moving from Phoenix. They wanted to buy a house in Bloomfield, but they saw the taxes on the house and they said, you know what? Because of the taxes, we're probably not going to move. And so I said, you know, okay, totally cool. I understand if taxes are that important, which they should be. Consider Farmington or Henrietta, which are the two cheapest taxes in their respective counties, Ontario and Monroe County. So if you're looking to buy more house with less taxes, Farmington and Henrietta would be a good choice for you. So, you know, it's something to keep in mind. My hands are about frozen, but this is really cool. I'm at Mendon Ponds Park. I'm walking the trails. Really cool kind of scenery here. I try not to bust my ass either because it's slick. As you can see, the boot marks here. Looks like everyone who's been walking this morning is sliding. So getting back to another pro of living in the Rochester region is education. This is something I talk about in depth on the channel. If you go to many of my other videos, you'll hear me talking about it. And that's because the Rochester area has some of the greatest educational institutions in the United States, I'd say. I'm not saying they're the best. I'm just saying that they're great. A lot of the places that maybe some of you guys are coming from may have a lesser rated school system, public school system, where your public schools, maybe your A ranking, maybe our C ranking. And that's not saying that your schools are bad at all, by any means. It's just saying that our schools are good, and so good that they're just better, you know? And that's coming from me. I'm not a public school kind of guy. I'm not even really a private school kind of guy. But we do have great educational facilities in the Rochester region. And that's not to mention our colleges, right? So you've got Finger Lakes Community College in Canandaigua. They also have campuses throughout Victor. Now I want to say in Penn Yan too. But either way, they have a few campuses. And then you do have, try not to bust my ass on this hill here. Then you have Monroe Community College. And of course, the benefits of community colleges are the expense. So if you're making that investment, go 2 years community college, get your gen eds out of the way, much cheaper. But if you want to go the full university route, you do have St. John Fisher University, you do have Nazareth, you do have Rochester Institute of Technology, you have University of Rochester. So you have some of the premier universities here in Rochester. And then, you know, nearby you have Keuka College, you have Hobart William Smith right in Geneva. Then you have Ithaca close by, you have Cortland. You have so many different options for college and university here locally, whether it's community college or you're attending a doctorate program, right? University of Rochester is one of the top medical programs in the state. And I don't know where they rank, but I know they're one of the top. And it just goes to show, because all of the medical programs in this area are just phenomenal. And that's moving into the next pro is going to be healthcare, right? Healthcare might be a little bit more expensive. If you look at the expenses of it, healthcare might be expensive. However, what I'll say is I have personally experienced 4 different local hospitals. I had a brain surgery done through Strong Memorial Hospital. However, that was done at Highland Hospital. Both of those programs are just outstanding. My wife used to be a RN at Strong, and we can say from experience that Strong is top tier. It's a tier 1 trauma center. So people fly in from other states, even Pennsylvania and Ohio, just to go to Strong for the trauma center. That being said, they've got Golisano's Children's Hospital. And then on top of that, there's Highland Hospital, like I said, where I had that surgery done. And then you have RGH, Rochester General Hospital, or Rochester Regional Health. And we recently had an experience there. So we had our baby on the 18th of December, and he had to go to the NICU. So we had him at Thompson Health in Canandaigua, and they're an affiliate of Strong Memorial Hospital. So when he had to go to the NICU, we were expecting he was going to be going to Strong Memorial NICU. And in fact, that's where the nurses were coming from for the transport team. However, being right before Christmas, they were so busy that they actually had to transfer him to Rochester General Hospital NICU. And at first, I'm not gonna lie, at first we were a little bit bummed because my wife, having worked at Strong, we just knew how good Strong was. And so he went to RGH, and let me tell you, we could not say enough good things about RGH in their NICU program. It's just, the nurses were so good. They were so skilled, so trained. Bedside manner was amazing. They were super articulate in how they explained things to us as the parents, and their care was just phenomenal. And so we've been raving about them since we left. And you know, it's just one of those things. We're proud to have so many great healthcare facilities in the area that are so accessible to everybody. I've got a friend who has a rare blood disorder. She goes to RGH because they have legitimately a blood disorder center. And so that's where her care team is. I had some clients move here from Tennessee whose grandmother came with them, and she had Parkinson's. And when they moved, she was very close to not making it due to her Parkinson's. They were able to find a team at Strong Memorial Hospital that ultimately saved her life. And by the time we got them a house, you couldn't even tell that she had Parkinson's. I was showing them houses and she wasn't showing any of the signs of Parkinson's. It was pretty incredible. So we're fortunate to have those. And I'd say, you know, in my opinion, that's one of the biggest pros about living in this area is just the healthcare and the hospitals that we have. I think that's a pretty important fact. And, you know, a lot of people move here for that. I've never actually been on these trails. Pretty sweet. It's a fun little hike. And, you know, that's another pro about the area is that you do have all these trails, especially in Parenton. Parrington is Trail Town, USA. So whether you're walking on these trails in Mendon Ponds or you're walking on along the Genesee Riverway or the Erie Canal, you know, throughout Fairport or Auburn Trail or the Finger Lakes Trail system, like there's so many different trails and hiking paths and things like that that you can just get outside even in the wintertime. I know I mentioned this being a con just because I know most people don't love it. Most people don't go outside really much during the winter. I know that because I live here and I know what most people do. I experience it. So, you know, if you are one of the ones that loves getting outside in all 4 seasons, that's what you got here. Something else that is potentially a major con about the Rochester area is limited public transport. So primarily if you're one of these folks who are moving from a large city where your primary means of travel is public transport, you better be reconsidering not having a car, because here you're gonna need it. We have the RTS bus, Rochester Transit System bus, and it's very cheap, but it only takes you within city limits and certain routes. So, but then you're gonna have to wait for a while, right? There's multiple buses, but you're gonna have to wait. And so if you're in a time crunch, trying to go to work or something, you're not going to make it in time, most likely. Another con to living in Rochester or the Rochester area, and consider this a con, consider this a pro, depending on who you are and what you view or your beliefs, but Rochester as a whole, Monroe County as a whole, is fairly liberal. So in the 2024 election, a majority of Monroe County voted Democratic for Kamala Harris. And you know what I'll say is, in the city, you can definitely tell the mayor is Democratic. You can definitely tell that as well. They're loose on crime, therefore crime tends to grow. Projects within the city, the way the money is spent in the city is probably not the most beneficial projects. A lot of people ask, hey, where's our tax money going? You know, and where are these projects that you said you were going to be doing? Here's the things that we actually need as a community. Why aren't these being handled? So, you know, all those kind of things. But if you're more liberal, you might be okay with things like that. So that's, you know, potentially a pro, potentially a con, depending on where you are or who you are in your beliefs and whatnot. What I'll say is those policies, more or less, tend to be upsetting people here locally. And because of that, people migrate a little bit more out to Ontario County, where things are slightly more conservative. I'm about to bust my ass. Here we go. And you know, things get done a little bit better. Money gets spent a little bit better. You know, at least that's what people are telling me. That's what people are saying as I walk through the community and talk to people and talk to my colleagues and whatnot. Those are the things that are being said. So something to keep in mind for sure. Again, pro or con, depending on who you are, what you are, your belief system, where you're from, etc. But something definitely worth mentioning. Whew. Someone's died. But that's it, guys. Pros and cons of living in the Rochester area. I hope you guys enjoyed and got something from this video. If you did, be sure to hit that like button. Helps this channel grow. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. And that information on the bottom of the screen, I'm the guy that answers those texts, emails, and phone calls. Definitely don't hesitate to reach out. And until the next one, guys, see ya. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.